Hey, what's up everyone? So in this video, I'll be showing you how you can send emails using Node.js in Node.js, and also I'll show you how you can get to send a verification email and get to verify a user email during the registration process. So we'll do two things. First, how to send emails. Second, how we can get to verify user emails. Okay, so right here I'll go ahead and show you whatever we will be working on. So I'll register for an account. Let's call this user Charles. Let's enter an email, and remember, this email must be a valid email, an email that I have access to for this to work out. So I'll enter the email and a password here, and I'll go ahead and register. So once I register, we don't have much, but whatever we have is the email that we registered with, and also whether this email is verified or not. So we are supposed to basically verify the email. Right here you can include a message like check the email for you to verify it, or something like that. So if we go to my email, whichever we use to register, unfortunately it's sending at the spam folder, but it's okay. You can tell the user to check the spam folder if they don't see the verification email at inbox. So right here you can see we received an email just I guess a few seconds ago, like 0 minutes ago. Okay, and it says, hello Charles, verify your email by clicking this link. So if I happen to click this link, it will take me back to the website, and you'll see that we have email successfully verified, and it's redirecting. And once it redirects, we get back here, but now this is verified. Okay, so we'll see how we will do this. First, we'll be able to send the email, and also we will be able to verify the email. So let me show you whatever have happened for you to get the general idea of what we will be doing. So if I happen to check the database, okay, if I happen to check the database, let me refresh here and go to chat app and users. So you'll see at the database we have this property is verified. So initially it was false, okay, but once we verified the email, it became true. And also here we have an email token. Initially it had a value, but right now it's null after we reset it. So what has happened is that we compare this email token with the token that is available at the link that we sent to the email. So if I check this link right here, if I click this link again, you'll see that momentarily it has an email token, and that email token has a value. So before it redirects, and I happen to paste this, whatever I have copied, we have this email token. So basically we are comparing this email token with whatever we'll be having at the database at the moment. And then once it compares them and it is see that they matches, we set is verified property to true, and also we clear the email token. So that is what happens. Okay, and now the tricky part is basically sending the email, and that is what I'll be showing you using Node Mailer. Cool. In case you're new here, my name is Charles, and I create coding content here on YouTube. I have cool projects. You can check the e-commerce course using React and Node. You can check the real-time chat app using React, Node, and Socket.io. And actually, this verification process is part of the chat application. So if you need to learn how to create an auth system, you can check this course, chat app, because I'll not be showing you everything from scratch. I'll just jump to where we have the Node Mailer and verifying the email, but don't worry, I'll provide the source code for auth, for logging and registration. But if you need to learn the basics, you can check the video, and also it is part of a series, and I'll leave the links to it at the description section below. So I have a small request. Please help me grow the channel. So if you really enjoy my content, get to subscribe to my channel, and I'm sure we can get to 20,000 subscribers very soon. Also, if you need the source code for this entire video, including sending email and verifying email, you can check a link at the description section below. The source code will be available on my Patreon. Unfortunately, it's not free, and this is another best way that you can get to support my content. So currently I have 17 patrons, and you can also become one of them, and I'm sure we can get to 100. Okay, it's just $3 per month, and this is where I'll be including all my source code. I'll leave a link at the description section below. Okay, so the first thing that you need to do is to clone this repo. I have already created the old system where you can register user and you can log in user. And again, if you need to run everything from scratch, you can check the chat app application. This all part is part of that application or course. Okay, I'll leave a link to it at the description section below. So go ahead and copy the link here, and then you can clone it. Okay, I'm assuming you know all these. I'm not expecting you to be a beginner or anything, okay, or watching this video. So once you clone the repo, you can open that with VS Code, and the first thing that you'll need to do is to set up your Atlas URI and your JWT secret key for the application to work. So here we have an example.env, but you need to create a new one right here, .env, then add Atlas URI and the JWT secret key. So once you do that, you can open the terminal and go to client. So you can see the client, and then you'll install the dependencies. So you learn npm I. So this will install the dependencies for client. You'll hit enter. I have already done so, so I don't need to do it again. And then after that, you learn npm run dev to start the client. Okay, so npm run dev. Okay, and then for the server, you can add a new terminal here. You'll need to again install dependencies for the server. So you'll need to cd into server, and then you will run npm I to install the dependencies. I have already done so, so I'll not do it. And then after you install the dependencies, you will run nodemon to start the server. So there the server is going, it's being fired up, and for client, I'm sure it's already there. So let's wait for the server. It's already there. So I'll click on this link, control click to open now these on the browser. So here we are. Awesome. Okay, so it has already picked up a user from the local storage and logged us in. Let's actually get to log out and we register a new user. So if I register a new user, I'll use a dummy email. Let's say Chaoo, to see what we have currently, just to see what we have. So if I happen to register the user, you'll see right here it's saying verified, but don't worry about this. It's hard coded, and I'm actually like negating the value. So don't worry about that. It's not verified. And then if we go to the database, now we should have two users. So if I refresh here, I'm using the same DB URI, so it's registering at the same place. So this is the first user whom we have as verified, and we have is verified property and email token. So we have these two properties, but for this new user, you'll see that we don't have those two properties. So we should be able to add them. Okay, so that is the first thing that we are going to do. So we need to go to the server and we will modify our model, user model. So right here after the password, we can add those two properties. The first one is verified property, and I'll set this one to be a type of Boolean. So type here will be Boolean. Then we'll also have a default value. So default will be false. Okay, and then the other property is the email token. I'll set this to be of type string. So I can just copy this one. Yeah, there we go, and I'll save. And now during the registration process, we should make sure that we are including an email token since we haven't added a default. Okay, so go to we have routes here, and also we have controllers. So go to controllers, and we have user controller, and you'll see here we have this function for register user. So right here, when creating a user document, we should make sure that we also have an email token. Okay, so right here we will have an email token, and this should be a random string. So to generate this string, we can use the crypto module that is available by default in Node.js. So right here, I'll bring in const crypto, and I'll set this to be equal to require crypto. Okay, and now we can make use of this crypto to generate a token here. So this is how we will do it. We will say crypto, then we will say dot, we have a method called random bytes. So random bytes here, then we want it to have 64 characters, and we'll change this into a string. So we'll say dot to string. By default, I think it is of type buffer, something like that. And right here, I'll change it to string, and let this string be a hexadecimal. So let me save that, and this is the line that I have added. Okay, so crypto dot random bytes 64, and then dot to string. So once we do this, whenever we register a user, we will have an email token being added to our database. So now whatever will happen is, when we click the link on the email that we sent to email, we will be passing this token, and then we'll be comparing this token with whatever we have in the database. Okay, but for us to be able to make the request from the client using that link to the database so that we compare them, we need to create a new route. Okay, so right here we have this is the controller page or controller file, so we need to add another controller. We can do it at the bottom here, so let's add it here. So I don't want to type everything out, it will just take a lot of time, so I'll just paste some code here, and then I'll explain it to you. Okay, so here I have this code, this function, we are calling it verify email. So this function will receive an email token from the client. So whenever we visit the link, we will be sending an email token from the client to this particular function here through a route, which we are going to create later in a while. So once we check if we have an email token, if we have the token, we will proceed. If we don't have the token, we'll say that email token not found. We return an error. So else we use that token to find a user from the DB. So we are using find one method, and if we get the user, we will go ahead and change the token and set it to null, and then we'll also change the is verified property, which we included at the user model, from false to true. Okay, and then after that we go ahead and save that user, and we generate a JWT token right here. So this is just for basic org, and at the top here we generate it like this using JWT. So you can check that out at the very top of the file. And once we do that, we send the details, these details now, to the user on the front end, so that we change the value of is verified to true. And yeah, that is basically it for this is verified property, and then we'll be able to use it to tell the client whether the email is verified or not. And you can restrict other parts of the application depending on whether is verified property is true or false. Okay, and the next thing that we do here is just checking the error and so on. So you can copy this function the way it is and try to make sense out of it, and then we need to pass it right here to export it. So let's export the verify email function here, and we need to create a route for it on our routes here. So at user routes, let's go ahead and add a new one. So this will be a post request, so we'll be performing a post request so that we send the token through the body of the request. So here we can say verify email. Yeah, there we go. And here we will have stroke verify hyphen email. So this is the route that we'll be accessing from the front end. So let's first complete the front end before we get to send emails using NodeMailer. So I'll go to client and SRC. So at the pages, we will add a new page that we will visit whenever we click the link, okay, from from the email. So right here, let's add a new file, and I'll call this one verify email. Verify email .jsx. So again, I don't want to type everything out. I'll just copy the component, then we'll go through it line by line. Okay. So I have pasted this component, and let's see what we have. Okay. So first of all, we are creating a component called verify email, and we are exporting it down here. And then we are getting a user from auth context, and also we are getting this property called update user from auth context. So this update user is not yet created, so we should go ahead and create it. Okay, this update user, but let's first complete the process here, and then we will create it. Okay, I'll show you why we need to create that. Then we have his loading property, we have the error property for setting the error. During the HTTP request, we will perform the HTTP request using the use effect here. Okay, then right here I'm using the use params hook from React Router DOM, and this will give us the email token parameter from the URL, from the browser URL right here. So this is how we are getting it. So we are saying const email token will be equal to search params dot get email token, and this search params is from the use params hook right here. Okay, so we get the email token from the URL, and we use this email token to perform the HTTP request in this use effect. So for this use effect, I have the email token and the user as the dependencies, and let's see the contents of the use effect here. Okay, so here is our use effect. So first of all, I'm checking the user property, that is verified property right here. So if this user is already verified, we'll not proceed with the request. We'll just redirect the user. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and redirect the user to the home page. So how are we redirecting the user? We are momentarily delaying the process by using set timeout, and we are using this navigate from React Router DOM again. So we have this use navigate hook from React Router DOM. We are setting it right here, and we are momentarily delaying the process. So during that time where we have a delay, we show a message of we are redirecting the user and the email is successfully verified. Okay, else if the email is not verified, that is when we hit the endpoint that we just created on our backend. Okay, so right here, if we have the email token, we make sure that we have the token. We go ahead and perform a post request. We use this set is loading to just set the loading process, and we set it to false down here. But this is the main part, performing the HTTP request. So we are making sure that we are hitting the URL. We have the base URL here, and the base URL, and also we have this, we are using this post request, which is a function, a utility function we created during the chat application course. You can check it out. But basically, this post request is a fetch request performing the post request. So let's see. This post request is at the utils folder. Then we have this service, and for the service, you'll see that we have this post request, It's receiving the URL and the body of the request, and you are basically performing the request and setting the method as post. And at the end of the day, it will return either data or it will return an error. So you can check it out. This is how we are checking if we have an error or not, and yeah, completing the process. And then we have the base URL here as our backend URL, okay, which is localhost 5000 stroke API. That's the base URL, okay. So if we come back here, now you know what post request does. It's basically a fetch request with the method of post, and we need to pass two things. The first one is the URL, and we have the base URL stroke users stroke verify email. It's hitting that endpoint, and then now right here we are passing the body of the request to be an object, and basically we have that email token, and we make sure that it's in a JSON string. So we use JSON.stringify. So if the user is not verified, we are performing this request, and then down here we are calling this update user, and basically initially the user will not be verified, so we need to update the state, and that is why I'm calling this update user, and we are adding this response. The response will contain the data from our backend. So that response will contain the ID, the name, the email, the token, and the is verified property, which is updated. Okay, so let me show you how we can create this update function here at our auth context. So I'll go to context here, then auth context. So yeah, I know maybe this file is overwhelming, but I have the course here on YouTube. So check the chat app course. The first thing that we do is the registration process. So we cover all this. So right here, this is where we can create that update user function, and then we will update the user. It is cool to create that function so that we optimize the function using the use callback. Okay, so this is basically it. So we have const, we create the function update user, and then we set it to be equal to use callback hook. This is just to optimize everything. So use callback, and remember here we will have an arrow function, and then we'll also have a dependency array. So whatever we do in this function is that we will receive the response, and remember this response is actually our user. And then in here we do two things. We update the local storage, and also we update the state. So for updating the local storage, I can just come down here and copy one of these. During the registration process, we set the local storage as this. So I copy this and I paste it right here. So we set local storage to user, and we store the stringify here as response. So we can change this to response so that they match. There we go. And then right here, we are supposed to also update the state. We have the state for the user right here. So I'll just call set user. So right here, we can just say set user. I invoke this and I pass the response. Okay, cool. So I'll go ahead and save that. Now, once we create this function, we should make it accessible to the rest of the application by passing it down here as a value. Okay, so at the auth context provider here, we should pass that function here, update user. Okay, now once we pass it there, we are able now to access it right here is through the use context hook, then auth context, we get our update user function, and that is what we call down here. Once we perform the request, get back a user who is verified, and we update the state and the local storage. That is what is happening. So you can copy these use effect. So let me show you. Yeah, you can copy it the way it is. That is the use effect. Then this is the code at the top of it. Now also we have the UI part of it, where we have the return statement. It doesn't need much explaining. We just have the UI and we are using material UI. So right here we have alert, and we also have an error in case of an error. So we are basically checking if the user is verified, we return email successfully verified and we redirect, else we show the error right here. So again, you can just copy this the way it is, okay? And also we have the is loading property here in case it's loading, and we show the circular progress. Okay, now what are we missing from this? We need to install Material UI for these ones to work out, okay? You can see we are getting it from Material UI. So to correctly install this, we can go to the browser. Let us search for Material UI. Material UI. Then let's click on Material UI here and copy this link here, okay? This will install everything correctly, so I'll copy this one and then I'll go to my code, open the terminal. Then you can create a new terminal since we have the other terminals occupied for running the application, and make sure you cd into client, cd client, hit enter, then install Material UI here, okay? So you can see it's installing Material UI, emotions, React, and so on, the styled, whatever. Hit enter, and that will get Material UI properly installed, okay? Cool. Now we need to create a route for this verify email, okay? So to create this route, we can go to, I think, app.jsx, and we need to create a route for it right here. So right here, before login, I can just duplicate the login, and whatever we will do here, we'll change this to verify email. So we'll say verify hyphen email, and then for the element, we don't need to check whether we have a user or not, so I can just remove everything there, and I will return the verify email component. So verify email component. So it should be imported here. I don't know if we can get the suggestion for that. It's not working out. Okay, there we go. I click on it. I have used control space to get this suggestion, and I click on it to auto import it there. Cool. Now we have a route to load that particular component. So whenever we get to this component, it will try to get an email token from the from the URL. So let me show you. So right here, let's console.log of email token, and let's actually log the email token. So I save, okay? So let's wait for this to complete installing, and then we can test everything out, okay? So again, if you need the source code for the complete thing, get it on Patreon. It's the best way that you can also support my content, okay? Also subscribe to the channel if you get to find my content useful. So once it installs Material UI and so on, you can visit the application. Also make sure that client and server are running. So mine took some time to start. I don't know why. So if yours also have some delay, try to stop the client and start it, and give it some time. I'm sure it will. So let's see what we have here now. So if we happen to visit the route where we are verifying the email, we should be able to see whatever we are logging to the console, that is the email token. So we'll say this is verify email, this is the route, verify stroke verify hyphen email. Then we'll have we can now set the parameter or the query parameter for the token by saying question mark email token is equals Then let's set a random string. Okay, so right here I can say whatever. Then when I hit enter, you'll see that we will get to verify email token right here, route, but also we are able to log this token here, this part, to the console. You can see email token is this part here, but now this token is not valid, therefore we get back an error, email verification failed, invalid token. So whatever is happening is that this token will be submitted to the backend. Okay, so we check if we have a token here, and we take that token, we send it to the body. Then at the user controller, we will get that token from the body. So here we get const token from the body. Then if we don't have a token, we return this. Else we try to get a user using that token. So if we don't get a user right here, we return this error right here. Okay, 404 email verification failed, invalid token, and this is what we are seeing on the screen. So the point is we are able to pass that email token from the client to the backend and be able to try and verify that email using the token. So that is the point of this, and we can actually get to test it out by registering a user. We get a token from the database and we try to pass that token manually to the link, and we see if it verifies the user. After that, we get to see how we can send an email. So first of all, let's fix our UI. So where we have our pages, you can go to chart here, then remove this exclamation mark. This is whatever that is causing a weird behavior. Remove that exclamation mark that is negating user.isVerified. So I'll save. So I'll go to the DB and delete this user here because I want to use the same email. So I'll delete this user, and let's register that user again. So I'll log out, register. So I'll say Charles, then I'll say email is a valid email. So chaocharles@gmail.com, and then we pass the password here. It should be a strong password. So if yours is not working, make sure it's a strong password. It has a capital letter, it has a small letter, it has a special case character, and it has, I think, more than at least 8 characters wrong. Okay, else it will throw an error. I have a check here, so make sure it has all those properties. So I hit enter and then it will log in, and right now you can see that here the email is not verified. Okay, now if I check the database, I should have a token at the database. Okay, so if I happen to refresh this, so I click refresh, it's retrieving the list. Chat up here, users. So if you happen to check this, you'll see that we have now this email token, and is verified is false. So I want us to verify it manually so that you see we make sure it's working before we get to send an email. So right here I'll copy this. So I need to copy everything. So you'll notice that this is not the entire thing. So just click on edit and click now on email token here, and then I'll highlight everything and copy. Okay, and then if I come to now my browser here, I'll access now the route using a valid token. Okay, so I'll say verify token, and this is not valid, so it will throw an error. But let's change now this one to whatever we have copied. Now this is the valid token. So now this token will be passed to the backend. If I hit enter, let's see, and if it works. Fingers crossed it will. So email successfully verified, redirecting or something, and there we go. Now email is verified, and you can see we get the email token here. And if I come to the DB and we get to refresh, now you'll see that now we'll no longer have an email token, but the user will be verified. So there we go. verified and null. So it's working when we do this manually. Now we want to automate this process by sending an email using Node Mailer. So this is now the second part of this tutorial, and let's cover it right now. So Node Mailer is what we'll be using to send the emails, and it is so easy to use that a 5-year-old can be able to use it. Anyway, we basically need to create one object, and that object we will use it to send the email, and that object is called the transporter. I'm not sure if it's listed here, but yeah, we need to create let's go to usage here. This is the Node Mailer docs. So basically we'll need to install Node Mailer. Let's actually do that. We copy this on clipboard and we install that at our server. So let's add a new terminal for installing backend or server dependencies. Right here we cd to server and we just install Node Mailer. Okay, so whatever we will be doing again is to create this transporter object. So once we create it, we'll be able to use it to send an email. So we'll just say transporter send mail, and yeah, that is basically it. So easy. Now you need to note something. We need to have an email that we will use to send the emails. Okay, so we need to have our email that will send the verification email to the other person. So the first option is using a custom email. For example, if you have a domain name, you can set up an SMTP server, or I think the IMAP server at your hosting server or whatever, or email server, whichever place that you'll set it, and then you can use that to send emails. We also have an option of using our Gmail, but Gmail usually have a lot of issues, so I don't recommend it. Probably it will give you a lot of issues that you'll regret using it. So just avoid using Gmail if you face issues. And the easiest way that I found out to send emails, if you don't have a custom domain name that you can use to set up an email using SMTP server, and if you don't want to face a lot of issues or going through a long process to set up Gmail, it's possible to use Gmail, but it's a long process to set it up the right way. Okay, if you set it up the wrong way, the easy way, it usually blocks emails and so on. So the easiest I found is using Outlook. Okay, Outlook emails, you can use Outlook, it works very well, and you'll not have a lot of issues with Outlook. Okay, so what you need to do is to create an email at Outlook if you don't have one, and I already created mine. Okay, once you create that, and remember the password for that email, because you'll need to use it. Okay, so once you create it, now you can proceed with the video. So the first thing that you need to do now is that we can go to the server here, and we can add a new folder called utils. Okay, utils, right here, utils, and right here we will create some functions that will help us to send the email. The first function, we will call it create the mail transporter. So we'll say create the mail. You can call it anything, it's just the transporter object that you are going to create. I'm so bad at spelling, I hope everything is fine there. .js. Okay, and again, I don't want to type it, I will just paste it and explain what happens. So here we will have this function. Make sure that Node Mailer is actually installed, so that we bring it in right here. We bring in Node Mailer, then we create this function here, create mail transporter, and we export it at the bottom here. We will use it on another file. So the reason why it's good to do this, to create a transporter in one place, is because you can have different emails that you want to send in your application. You can want to send an email to verify an email, maybe once a user purchases something from your website, or any other email that you might want to send. Okay, now we use this Node Mailer.create transport this is now a method that is available on Node Mirror. Then we are supposed to pass several options. So the first one is the service. I'm using Hotmail, and this is specific for Outlook. Okay, so if you are using SMTP, if you are using Gmail, you might have a different setup, and that is where now I direct you to the doc. So if you go to docs and check a Node Mailer here and all these others, you'll see that we have different ways of setting our transport. You can see here Node Mirror create transport, and now here the host is SMTP, whatever, port, secure, and so on. You'll need to dig into the docs, but right now here, this is the way that we can do it with Outlook. We set service to Hotmail, then we set auth for our Outlook email. So you'll need to include your Outlook email here. Now mine is chaocharles@outlook.com. Then you need to include the password. So you can paste it here directly, or you can include it into your environment variable. So I'm using mine at environment variable, and then now right here we are returning this transporter object from this create email. Now we will use this transporter function or create mail transporter in another file. So let's create that file, and we'll call it send verification email.jsx. Send verification email, or you can say mail, doesn't matter. Okay, not JSX, I mean React. Forgive me for that. .js. Then let's make sure that we have saved this one. Now we are here. So again, I have pasted this code. The first thing that we get is this create mail transporter from this file which we created here. Okay, and then we now make use of this create mail transporter down here to create our transporter object. And now down here at our transporter object, we call the send mail method, and we pass our mail options. Now for the mail options, we should say from where this mail is coming from, and I say it's coming from chat app. You can include your name or the name of the application here, and then we include also the email right there, and then we say whom are we sending this email to. So we are sending this email to user.email, the person who is trying to register for an account. So right here we'll be passing the user, and we'll be getting the email right here. So we try to send that email to this user. So if this user is valid and they have access to the email, they will get a verification link, and that link is now available in the body here. So we have the subject here as verify your email, and then we have the HTML here of our email body. Okay, and here is where we'll include the link. So if the email is their email, they'll get that link, then they'll get to click on the link, and once they click the link, we will verify the token, and if it's valid, it will go through. If not, it will not. So now here we pass this body. I'm passing a p tag, hello. Then I'm using these backticks. These are backticks so that I can include JavaScript in here. So user.name, hello user.name. So here it will give the name of the user, the one that you used to register. Then verify your email by clicking this link. Then you can include some more details to this. Then right here I'm including an anchor tag so that it becomes a link and I can be able to click on it. And for the anchor tag, this is what I am using, href. Now this is a normal quote, but right here I am including the client URL, so you can paste it directly. Basically the client URL is this, so the client URL is this one here. So if you come and copy this there and you paste it right here directly, it will work. Okay, you replace this part. Mine, I have included it as the environment variable so that when you get to deploy the application, you can also change it. So this is the client URL, in case you are wondering. Okay, now we also make sure that we are hitting the endpoint, so we include the verify email here, and here we make sure that we are hitting the endpoint Then we include our query param, so question mark email token, and we set it to be equal to now the token that is available in the DB. So we get this from the user that we pass here, user.email token, and so it will be like we will have the link and it will be saying verify your email. Okay, so that is the mail options from to subject and HTML we pass there. Then we have a callback with error and info. So you can, if an error occur, you can set the error here. You can log it to the console or send it to client. If it's successful, you can also do something with it, inform the client and so on. But now this is what we will do. We use this send verification mail while registering the user. So you can go to controller, then user controller, register user. So right here, after we save the user to the DB, we can call now our function send verification email. So make sure that you are also exporting it, okay, down here. So if I click that, I think it will be auto imported at the top. There we go. Now we call it, just after saving the user here, we call it, and we are supposed to pass the user. It's expecting that character, okay? So we pass user, and that's it. So that should be able to send the email to us. So let's test our application. Remember, now this user will be having an email token. It will be having the name and the email, and those properties are the one that we will use here: user.email, user.name, and user.mail token. So I'll go to the app, and I'll clear the DB again, just to so that I use the same email. I don't have so many emails, so I'll delete these, then back here I'll log out, then I will refresh just to clear everything and register. So name Charles, then email, this will be a valid email, so I'll say Chaoo Charles at gmail.com, then password. So if I happen to register, we should get an email to verify the email. So register. Okay, we are logged in, but the email is not verified. Let's check our database. So if I refresh here, so we have this now email, and we have a token, and is verified, is false. So let's check if we got the email. So I go back here. If you don't get an inbox, check spam. I will refresh here, and look, we have 2 here, meaning that we received the mail. So if I click this, and here it is, this is the latest. You can see it's coming from chat app, and I'm including the email here. You can see it's coming from the Outlook email, and this is the content of the body. Hello Charles. This is whatever we passed as user dot as user dot name, and then we have a link. So the href is the one that is having the content. So if I happen to visit this link, you will see this is the complete link. It's verified, email successfully verified, and it's redirecting, verified. It's working. That is it. It's easy as that. So that is it for this video. If you have enjoyed, make sure you subscribe, turn on post notification, and also support me on Patreon. I'll be really happy for that. So that is it. I'll see you in the next one.